Hey everyone, this is Jane with Barlow Herbal, and I have some thoughts to share with you, maybe a little bit random, but maybe spot on. I have been thinking a ton lately about a lot of things. I've been trying to center in, figure in my own mind from my perspective what's going on. We're in the middle of July of 2020, and I know there's some strong perspectives and opinions happening, and I've kind of decided a couple of things, and I just wanted to share them with you today. Number one is that we need to, as morbid as this sounds, we need to contemplate death a little bit more. And the reason I say that is because death is our greatest teacher. Now, one of my favorite books, and the reason I say this is because there's this book called The Untethered Soul, which was written by a man named Michael Singer. And I've read this book several times, and there's a chapter in this book called Contemplating Death. It's chapter 17. And I know this because not only have I read this book a lot of times, but every time I read through chapter 17, and I actually do Audible. I'm a big Audible person. I love the voice that I can absorb the information, and that's how I prefer to listen. But every time I get through chapter 17, I rewind it back to the beginning of chapter 17, and I listen to this chapter about 5 or 6 times every single time I read this book, because what it does is it reminds me that we are all mortal, and the things that we put all this attention and angst and whatever that it may be, as far as trying so hard not to die, that we forget to live. And every time I read this book and every time I read through this chapter, it is such a beautiful reminder of why we're here, what we're meant to do, how we're supposed to be alive, no matter what this world throws at us. And we all know that we are living in odd times. To me, it's very odd, but I've never really lived through anything that was so odd. I didn't live through the Holocaust. I didn't live through a world war. I didn't live through um, these horrible things that humans have lived through. And I have some very strong opinions about what is happening and how things that are being handled or mishandled, in my own opinion. And to be really honest, they are causing a lot of anxiety and angst and depression. And I'll be honest too, a lot of loneliness, because I'm a very social person, and a lot of my social structure has collapsed during this whole thing. And it's it's just an interesting time to get perspective and reflection, uh, especially when it's forced on you. I wasn't ready to be forced out of all my social connections and all the things that I get used to doing, and all of these things that are happening. And so I am really working on contemplating what is important and what I can do during this time, um, to make my life, and the fact that I am a breathing, living human right now, what can I do to realize this fact and appreciate it and be in the present moment with every single person? Because here's the deal. We don't know when it's our time to go. We could simply take our last breath, and we wouldn't even know that we weren't taking another breath, because we wouldn't be here. And what you're doing right now in this moment, whether that's riding in your car, sitting on your couch, eating a meal, someone died doing that. And we do not know when it's our time to go. I've been actually kind of depressed through this whole thing, thinking, what's the last third of my life going to look like if it continues to be crazy? Like, it has been a very depressing thought for me to think that I am not going to have the life that I want and I desire, because other people are making decisions that have nothing to do with me, what I feel. So what I'm trying to do and really vibrate in is the present moment, and to be present. And, we all say this is a time to reset. I think there's a dark undercloud of what other people are resetting that affect me. But again, I am doing my best to not let this affect me on a negative level, so that I don't get sucked into the vortex and think that life has no meaning, because I am alive, I'm breathing, I'm moving, I have a lot of things to be grateful for. Might look different than what I would wish it to be, but it is the fact that I'm still alive and breathing. And the second thing that I really want to impart to you is there's a beautiful book, the Tao Te Ching, that is, and it's called Being in the Tao, which basically means you think about a pendulum. It goes way far this way and it goes way far this way. But when you are in the Tao, you are in a neutral position where everything is calm, everything is collected, and you're not over here vibrating in craziness and uncertainty and, again, angst and all of that, and you're not over here doing the same thing. You are simply in a place of balance. And this is such a wonderful place to think about and to be, because there are a lot of things that we can do from this place that brings brilliance and joy and love to the world. And I think this is a really good time for us to practice this and to get involved. Of course, get involved. Think about the things that you want for yourself and your life and your family. And whatever you are being involved in that could actually have a higher purpose to affect humans, yes, please do that. I'm not saying to be apathetic. I'm saying to be in a place where whatever happens, you're not letting yourself get all worked up about it. Now, I want to take this one moment too to remind you that one of the best things that you can do for yourself is to disconnect from mainstream media. This is something that they hope that they scare you, they put fear in you, and they want you to lock into their narratives so that they can get their ratings high. That is all it's about. You are, most of the time, you are not getting truth. And you feel that inside of you, just like I feel that inside of me. When I come across anything that maybe I accidentally watch, or I have something that is sent to me that I might click on for a minute, and I realize, I know, I can feel this in my soul, in my bones, in my gut. We have this as humans, but as modern humans, with all this information, all this technology, we are constantly sucked into this vortex that is not healthy for us. So you need to remember that this is on purpose to keep you in fear, to keep you locked into these stations so that you will continue to watch. And there is so much untruth that if you pay attention to your gut and what you feel inside of you, it will never lead you wrong. And I know that there's a lot of people who are in an asleep state. They are asleep and it's hard to watch. And maybe people think I'm asleep. I mean, it doesn't discriminate. So I just wanted to give you a couple of my thoughts today, because I feel like we are in interesting times, and I've had some interesting conversations that have really hurt my soul. And then I've had interesting conversations that uplift my soul. And I sometimes feel hopeless and helpless and depressed and, yes, lonely. And I know that you are probably feeling that way too. But my biggest hope for you is that you will stop vibrating in fear. Here's something I'm going to throw out if you got to the end of this video. We are meant to be together. We are meant to build our immune system, our microbiome, by interacting with each other, touching each other, hugging each other, loving each other. For all of the things that we are going through, one of the worst things that we can do is to separate ourselves from each other. And I think it's criminal that we are separating ourselves at the expense of trying so hard not to die that we forget to live. And trust me, I've had some uncomfortable conversations with people who completely disagree with me. And that's okay. This is how I feel deep within my soul. My study, my perspective, the things that I've accomplished as a person who's almost 60, I feel like I have some life wisdom deep inside of me that knows how to see the world and form my own thoughts and opinions and perspectives. And that I also know there's other people who have the same life timeline, and their perspectives and opinions and resources are different than mine. and that's okay. It's okay. I have really grown these last few months to realize that I don't need to be attached to other people not agreeing with the way I am and the way that I think and the way that I feel. So I hope that you are able to realize that you are a blessed, alive human. This is a this is a time to realize that it might not be look exactly like you wish it would look, because I can resonate with that 100%, but you are still alive. And it's time to be in the moment and realize that you think you might have a certain amount of time left, but none of us knows when it's our time to go. And have committed to myself, my husband, my kids, my grandkids, that I am going to be present in every single moment. And I'm not going to let those moments pass by and delve into a vortex that is uncontrollable, which leaves me out of the present moment. So I wish the same for you. I hope the same for you. I hope that you are able to get through this time, because I think we're in for some interesting times ahead, and we get to choose how we deal with it and how we let other people vibrate in their own reality from their own perspective, which is probably the biggest challenge. So I hope you have an amazing day. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you got to the end of this, serious kudos, and we'll talk to you soon.